Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 220922.9. Something doesn't feel right. We've lost all sight of this mysterious lolcow, so I've put the ship on red alert and am ordering all crew, mostly the NPC crew, to remain at battle stations. Their efficiency might be harmed by this. Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with dildos. I'm not even joking. I saw this originally on my Discord server where someone had posted a Lad Bible article, a meme at first and then the article because I was like, that can't be real. Turns out, oh, it really is. But we're going to go to an independent article instead, so it's totally credible. In a video viewed nearly 4 million times on Twitter, via a collision on Oklahoma's Interstate Highway 40, a crash occurred when a semi-truck collided with a box truck near Mustang Road on the I-40, which is not far from Oklahoma City. A TV station then sent a helicopter into the air to capture the wrecked cargo, which according to independent Oklahoma news site The Lost Ogle, was not too far from a major adult product-focused distribution hub, a smut factory. That's cute. I like the name instead though. It would look better on a CV than former employee at a smut factory. I made the molds, you know. While it was unclear from the video footage what the boxes were, the website said that it sure looks like a bunch of vibrator boxes and tubes of lube scattered over the highway. Those that like to Roger cars just got really excited. What makes this a bit spicier, or tastier depending on your interpretation and maybe if the lube is flavored, is zoomed in images appeared to show the outline of a fake phallus on the side of the boxes. This then led to other news outlets like Australia's Daily Telegraph to suggest that the news of the spillage was that, you know, those phalluses, which in turn then made global headlines. In a rather amusing yet awkward interview, News 9's helicopter pilot and anchor Jim Gardner hinted at the contents of the spillage by saying, after asked by Lacey Lowry, "What's he carrying there? What's all over the road?" "Well, not really, maybe you can tell." "I can't tell. The good thing is, the driver's not injured, but there's a lot of stuff laying on the road. Whatever it is, it's gonna take a while to clean up." He wasn't awkward at all. It took several hours to clean this mess, by the way. If it was lube, I can understand why. They're going to require a fair amount of time to get that out of the asphalt. Now, I think we, as intrepid intellectual skeptic types, need to take a closer look at this image. Now, what do we see in abundance all over the floor? I know, wasted produce. Product solely designed for people's enjoyment, which it has served a purpose. It's just the wrong kind. As opposed to us laughing, this one's supposed to put a different kind of smile on your face. One might go so far as to say an orgasmic smile, unless you use it aggressively and you're more the angry type, in which case we need to talk. Now, in all seriousness, because we should of course acknowledge this, many poor, defenseless adult toys were lost in this event. Lives are going to suffer because they are not going to be able to find their jollies. And if they do, they're not going to be able to do it without, well, having to use a little spit, I guess. If they're into the more flavoured variety, might I recommend a gobstopper first, and then spitting. So next I'd like to talk about the Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings parody show that's cost $1 billion by Amazon, who don't have any of the rights to anything but do have some rights but don't have rights. None of it's canon, yet some of it kind of is canon. It's derived from canon, but you can't use the canon. It's not as good as a fan-made show. So it's a fantastic parody. Courtesy of the Daily Telegraph. We have 2 articles, by the way, this is the first one. Rings of Power would have Tolkien turning in his grave, a remark that has done its rounds quite a bit of late. The sets are astonishing, the special effects are seamless, and the costumes are incredible, but Amazon's Rings of Power has managed to be both pretentious and boring. The Lord of the Rings Rings of Power is in more trouble than an orc who's told Sauron he thinks they should go all vegan. I've written about the shows being review bombed, which is where there is a gulf between what the critics think and what the audience score is. Usually this is unfair and the result of trolls. That is apt in this case, but not the whole story. Among the complaints are the coloured characters dropping in, seemingly at random. The way existing characters such as Moffat Clark's Galadriel and Elrond seem to have changed dramatically from Peter Jackson's acclaimed films, and rewriting those works to show, among other things, female dwarves without beards, which is the biggest, most triggering thing ever. Seriously, Gibbs beards. Now let me say that in Musk's case, Elon Musk had tweeted about this, it is both right and very wrong. Tolkien grew up in Queen Victoria's England, where ironically the idea of powerful female leaders was not popular. They certainly weren't a strong part of his Lord of the Rings because you could count them on the fingers of a blind butcher. The strong women in Rings of Power would probably have Tolkien sputtering in his pipe, while coloured characters would also have raised his bushy eyebrows given his propensity for describing people as fair. But this is the crucial bit. Those are not the problems with Rings of Power. Not every male character is a coward or a jerk. Having some characters as coloured does not ruin things. Arondir is the most interesting of the show so far. It's the quality of the character that counts, not what the skin looks like. Sadly with the story though, it's not up to par. It's like being served rancid cat food on a beautiful antique plate. In years to come, I believe budding fantasy writers will be invited to watch the show, because it is a case study in how to use every lazy fantasy trope imaginable, from the ever-burning torches to leaving at first light to ramshackle rafts that can survive impossible storms. And don't get me started on using two-handed swords in close combat. Are you trying to use logic? How dare you? Now the article goes on a fair bit, pointing out many of the issues when it comes to the story itself. The casting, the characters, no. The sets, no. It's entirely the quality of the story, which is why many fans are annoyed. Some will, yes, of course, take issue with race. They're morons for it. Just enjoy the memes that come out of that and move on. Let's go now to The Atlantic. I used them earlier this week for a rather amusing video on Monday. Fear of a Black Hobbit. The demand to keep politics out of art is too often a demand for art to conform to conservative politics. Interesting. Maybe you've heard that people are mad about black actors being cast in Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, or maybe it was Star Wars or perhaps Thor. Wait, maybe it was Titans or Superman or The Witcher. Or maybe you heard that people are angry that Black Panther got made in the first place, because Wakanda is fictional, unlike one of those fantasy countries authors seem to think will seem most mysterious if you add enough accents or apostrophes, like some place they just made up. Maybe you're wondering why adults care about a Disney mermaid being black. One adult here just like to say, I couldn't care less. Nearly every single live-action remake has been shite. I have no reason to care. Also, it's for kids, why do I care? Earlier this month, CNN published a news story featuring an interview with Brandon Morse, an editor for the right-wing website Red State, in which he complained that the Amazon's new Lord of the Rings show is integrated, saying the Rings of Power producers have cast non-white actors in a story based on European culture, and who look wildly different from how Tolkien originally described them. He says it's an attempt to embed social justice politics into Tolkien's world, also saying that if you focus on introducing modern political sentiments such as the leftist obsession with identity issues that go skin deep, then you're no longer focusing on building a good story. This is where a number of issues arise. Firstly, it really doesn't matter what the colour of the actor or actress cast in the show is. It really doesn't. What matters is the story they're telling. Granted, with the source material, it all goes back a long way, but it could still have been modernized if the story was a bit more honest about where it was going. You can latch onto the idea that perhaps the wrong type of geek is annoyed by this, but that's not the case. You're just seeking to alienate them further by using buzzwords like incel, any excuse to create a community of your own and call it geek, and then get rid of those that the OGs are. And also you have the additional concern that because Tolkien's work is derived from a much, fairer time, I'll use the term fair in the same sense it is used in this article, there is going to be some, what many would consider to be historical inaccuracies. Now granted, I do not care about that in the slightest. I do care about the characters, the story they are trying to tell. If this is set in the Second Age, why have we seen so many errors already? I know you're not allowed to use a lot of the source material, but it wouldn't cost you much to go into WH Smith and just buy the books and read them. They've redone them recently. All of them. It wouldn't cost you a lot of money at all, in fact. A little honesty goes a long way in this, and that's the problem. Some of the scenes don't make sense. Some of the costumes also don't look that good. The chemistry between the characters is astonishingly bad, and I do believe the show has potential, and as a fan, I am well within my right to have these criticisms. Again though, I don't care about the thing about race, I really don't. I just want the story that captures my mind and makes me feel like I am immersed in something I love, not something that looks like a really cheap ripoff of a LARP. So next I'd like to show you a video I saw on Twitter that made me chuckle to no end because honestly, why are you this stupid? Courtesy of a teacher who had to tell everyone on TikTok of a conundrum, a quandary, an issue that she had.
Conservatives always talk about how teachers need to keep their private lives private and they shouldn't be talking about gender and sexuality with their students. Bro, you want to know what happened on my first day of my new school 3 days ago? A kid came up to me after the end of class and asked my pronouns. I had forgot to put them in my little get to know me slide at the beginning of the period. So this was new. I didn't even give any signs. I mean, I gave a couple signs.
The correct way of responding to that is to give them your pronouns if they are so damn important. Further discussion is redundant, but don't worry, you're going to keep digging a hole. I'm going to let you dig it. I only inserted this, so I didn't violate fair use.
But come on, what was I supposed to do? Lie? And then they asked more, and I said yeah, I'm bi.
And thus the line was crossed. At no point with any student, past, present, or future, do you ever need to, should, ever consider discussing your sexuality. The pronoun thing I kinda get, but the sexuality part is absolutely inappropriate. And by the way, I'm not a conservative, nor am I a parent. I just think who you like to be with is of no business of theirs. You are there to perform a task. Your task is to teach, not to educate them on your personal matters.
And they've now spread this rumor so much that students who I don't even teach are coming to my room all the way at the end of the hallway just to say, "Hi, Rami," and then leaving. What am I supposed to do? I'm sorry, conservatives. I'm not forcing it down their throats. If anything, they're forcing it down mine.
Please tell me this was a parody, because there are levels of stupid here I can't quite understand, and I'm really hoping this is a joke. Especially as this would be a damning statement of the education system, where instead of being a teacher, you are more interested in being liked by your pupils. I can promise you, from my own experience, I didn't like any of my teachers, but they did their job properly, and me not liking them is an indicator that they focused on the job. When I siphon through all these sources for these kind of videos, I see a lot of content like this, and I rarely touch it. Mostly because if it's anything like this, well, one does not know how to respond to it half the time. Oh, and I'm still not entirely sure how to respond to this. Yes, this one's been on my desk for a while. It's quite the bust to wear. Not entirely sure in the context of a school this is at all appropriate. But what do I know, everyone? I'm not a teacher either. Surely this is bad for your back. I know the school has come out defending this particular teacher by referencing gender identity. Okay, could you consider perhaps reaching out to that teacher and suggesting that while their gender identity is protected, the students won't be if that teacher accidentally pistol whips them with those nipples? And yes, I did read the rather pathetic statement from the school on this. Many people have taken to Twitter to say that this is insulting and that it also dehumanizes the entire sex of women. I guess what tickled me the most was that other outlets have taken the stance that those large prosthetic breasts are comparable to female educators who face misogynistic policing for their body shape or outfits. I know a lot of people stand firmly in favor of free the nipple. I think when it comes to being in a classroom full of children and educating them on stuff, might it be an idea instead, just a suggestion, that you either holster those rubber cannons or perhaps consider reducing your workload on your back to hold those up by simply acquiring something more manageable. While not a teacher, here we are a problem solver. I hear Dremel would do a fantastic job on those nips though. File those bad boys down might save you a whole lot of unnecessary attention.